Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Chris Bortle, and over the next several minutes, we will examine the Sinaloa Cartel through an analysis of the organization, its illicit activities, leadership, and associations with terrorism. Throughout the brief, we will discuss the white-collar crimes that the group engages in, the use of violence and tactics by law enforcement as well, in their efforts to stop the organization. Overall, the Sinaloa group has grown from a small farm town criminal organization in the Sinaloa region to a major cartel that has roots internationally and significant power and influence in Mexico. Ultimately, stopping this organization will require a significant strengthening of the rule of law, police institutions, and it's necessary for local law enforcement and U.S. law enforcement to address the issue of popular support amongst the cartel as well. So the Sinaloa Cartel is a multi-faction organization that has influences that span from Mexico to as far north as New York City and even as far south as Argentina. It has international influences in China with the increase in the fentanyl trade, as well as in North and South America. The Sinaloa Cartel is primarily involved in illicit narcotics trafficking. They have been known to manufacture and traffic heroin, but again, they have been recently engaged in a major fentanyl manufacturing operations, given the large demand in the United States with the opioid crisis that we're currently experiencing. The cartel is also known for its philanthropical characteristics. It has conducted governmental-like services for small towns that it largely controls in the Sinaloa region. Essentially, where the government in Mexico has fallen short, the cartels in these small towns have taken up tasks like policing petty crimes, taxation, regulation over small enterprises that we'll discuss more when we talk about white-collar crimes. So one way to describe the Sinaloa Cartel is that it's not a single hierarchical organization. It's a cartel of factions with notorious leaders like El Chapo, El Azul, and El Mayo. With regards to the environment that shapes the organization is one of constant threats from rival gangs. As demonstrated in this graphic, there are several other cartels in Mexico that challenge the power and influence of the Sinaloa Cartel. Additionally, the lack of the rule of law in Mexico also shapes the nature of the Sinaloa Cartel. Specifically, it enables the organization to essentially infiltrate the legitimate government to control local municipalities, to control elections and small enterprises. The Sinaloa Cartel, as we will discuss further, was notorious for its influence over the fishing industry in Mexico. So as mentioned previously, notorious members of the Sinaloa Cartel include leaders like El Chapo, El Mayo, and El Azul. So El Chapo is the most famous leader of the Sinaloa Cartel. He has some grassroots beginnings in a small farm town in Mexico's golden triangle of drug production. And at an early age, El Chapo was taken under the wing of Miguel Gallardo of the Guadalajara cartel, where he essentially gained his invaluable experience until he founded the organization, the Sinaloa organization, after Gallardo was killed. It appears that greed appears to be his primary motivator for a cartel leader. El Mayo and El Azul are other prominent members of the cartel who were essentially also motivated by greed. El Mayo proved his worth as a key leader for the Juarez cartel, moving massive amounts of cocaine, and Azul gained his competence through the Carrillo Fuertes organization, where he learned to interact with other capos, other leaders of other cartels, and corrupt government officials as well. So with regards to white-collar crimes and elite criminals, the Sinaloa Cartel typically engages in a sophisticated extortion technique over the fishing industries in Mexico. So in the Sinaloa region that it controls, the cartels moved into some of these small fishing towns and engaged in government-like services, investigating petty crimes, collecting taxes and regulating local businesses in these towns. Under this market, the fishing market, the Sinaloa cartel basically controls and has influences over sport fishing activities. They own restaurants, they own hotels and markets in these popular fishing towns. Overall, the cartel has been notorious for its team taxation and regulation activities over these small enterprises. And so for this reason, they have earned a reputation of a small business-like organization. Despite its reputation as a business-like organization, the Sinaloa cartel has been notorious for the use of violence. However, it's also been well known for its ability to control the use of violence compared to other volatile cartels. That is, the Sinaloa cartel is very deliberate in their decision to use violence. However, they have been known periodically to engage in violence, especially under the following circumstances, where under the arrest of El Chapo, there was a power vacuum between El Mayo and El Chapo's sons that resulted in a bloody conflict to gain control. And additionally, other outbreaks of violence occurred in Culiacan, Mexico, where the Mexican government arrested El Chapo's son, Olivido Guzman, which triggered a violent response by cartel members who essentially set up roadblocks and conducted attacks against government officials as a way to send the message, don't mess with us. It is common for contemporary transnational organized crime groups to have a nexus with terrorism. The Sinaloa cartel does not have a direct relationship with Islamic extremists like ISIS or Al-Qaeda for three main reasons. According to Justin Moykins, both groups have conflicting ideologies on capitalism and economy. Extremist groups essentially want to destroy capitalism, whereas the Sinaloa cartel benefit from it. ISIS and Al-Qaeda's ambitions to destroy the United States ultimately affects the consumer base for the Sinaloa cartel. Additionally, according to Justin Moykins, he states that both groups would have issues with cooperation based on trust, given their sentiments of exclusiveness in their group identities. The cartel has been known to engage with non-Islamic terror groups, however, such as Colombia's FARC. Specifically, the Sinaloa cartel has been collaborating with the FARC to move cocaine into the United States. Law enforcement actions to take down the Sinaloa cartel include the effort by the Drug Enforcement Administration to take down the organization in Operation Last Mile. This was an effort by the DEA to tackle the influx of fentanyl and methamphetamine that's been flowing into the United States by the Sinaloa cartel. According to one account, Operation Last Mile consisted of over 1,436 investigations from May 2022 to May 2023, which resulted in the seizure of 44 million fentanyl pills. The significance of this operation was astounding. It was reported that the seized fentanyl powder and pills by the DEA equated to approximately 193 million deadly doses of fentanyl. Although the operation by the DEA proved to be a devastating blow to the Sinaloa cartel, the cartel is notorious for their resiliency, so it's uncertain as to whether or not the operation was enough to dismantle the organization in its entirety. Although the Sinaloa cartel has not explicitly participated in cyber crimes, some scholars argue that Mexico's cartels are, in general, increasing their association with cybercrime professionals to increase their revenue. Given that the Sinaloa cartel engages in crimes other than drug trafficking to gain illegal revenue, it is likely that they could turn to cybercrimes given its lucrative nature in today's society. So like other cartel members, if the Sinaloa cartel would hypothetically engage in cybercrimes, they would likely hire or kidnap cyber experts to carry out acts of cyber theft, fraud, carry out narcotics transactions on the dark web, or profit off cryptocurrencies. These three illicit activities are currently being leveraged by cartel groups in Mexico. So in conclusion, the Sinaloa cartel is unique amongst its rival organizations for its resiliency to withstand external and internal conflicts, to maintain support among the portion of the Sinaloa's population, and its business-like activities. So drug trafficking is its main export, and they have been known to participate in government-like services in the small towns of the Sinaloa region. The cartel is careful to resort to violence, giving it that buttoned-down reputation that scholars highlight. However, the group has been known to resort to violence during organizational instability, quests to expand territory, or when the organization is threatened during police raids or arrest. The Sinaloa Cartel has been a major distributor of fentanyl in the United States, and operations by the DEA have suggested that the organization is a significant risk to U.S. interests and U.S. national security, given the epidemic of the fentanyl crisis in the U.S. But overall, it's uncertain as to whether the current efforts by the U.S. and Mexican authorities will be enough to dismantle the organization in its entirety. Thank you for listening.